Carolina got a huge win at Virginia on Saturday, and now I got to know, where are the Tar Heels going to finish in the ACC standings? It's time for some buy and sell.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Thursday, January 29th, 2026. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Network, now the #1 sports podcast network out there. Thanks for making us your first listener watch on this Thursday. Special shout out to our everydayers, all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, and of course our insiders as well. Yeah, we got a game day here on, not that it's game day for the Tar Heels, but we're playing games here on Locked On Tar Heels today. Little rousing edition of Buy or Sell. Joining me to do so is our good buddy, Mr. Josh Marlow from the Heel Tough blog, Four Corners podcast, out there doing great work as always. Make sure you go check out his great work. You can find him on X at HTB_Josh. Now, here's the fun thing. I have not told Marlow what the topics of our buy and sells are today, other than that it's Carolina basketball. I gave him the option. I said, do you want to know, or do you want to just hit it in real time and me get your raw reactions? He said, let me get that raw reaction. So that's what we're doing. Got a few team specific things. I've got a few player specific things, but we'll get to them soon. So Josh Marlow does not know what I'm about to send his way, and it's going to be great. Briefly, before we get into it, though, some breaking news on Wednesday. The CBS Sports Classic has been extended through the 29-30 season, which is awesome. UCLA is now fully out. So Carolina, Kentucky, Ohio State, and Josh Marlow, we're adding the Kansas Jayhawks. Man, I love that addition.
Love the addition of Kansas. Not going to lie to you, though, Shady. Was hoping that this event was coming to an end so Carolina could do some other things with their non-conference schedule. This event has always felt weird for whatever reason, but now that you're adding Kansas, they figured out kind of where to take this event and where not to. I do think that it'll be something fun to look forward to the week before Christmas from a college basketball perspective. Also, raw reaction time for you. Last time that you had me on, I had hair. I have now transitioned
heck yeah,
the Bald Men Club. I know you're posting all your hair comments all the time that you get, so I figured I'd surprise you with the dome look that the Marlow family is glad that I made. Papa or my dad's happy. Ashton, a big fan of yours, is very happy. So I figured it'd be fun for you to see me in its glory, all bald after years and years of stress watching this program has taken my hair away.
It looks great, Marlow. You got a good head for it. I like that you kept the beard to balance it out a little bit on the bottom. It's a good look. Thankfully, you don't have all the weird bumps and stuff. My man, I think you should rock it always. Lather that bad boy up, get it shiny and pretty, and maybe blind some Duke Blue Devils here pretty soon when they're trying to shoot, when Isaiah Evans is trying to shoot a three. Great look. I'm here for it. So, by the way, next year, the event, the CBS Sports Classic, will be back at Madison Square Garden. Carolina playing Kentucky. The next season, it will be Kansas, then Ohio State. I wish we could get the Buckeyes out, but whatever. And then back around to Kentucky in December of 2029. Marlow, the other thing, and I don't want to spend much time on this, but the whole Bill Belichick, not a first-team Hall of Famer, like, what in all of God's green goodness is that? I am not a Patriots defender. As a Falcons fan, I'm still reeling from 28-3. But if the dude with the most Super Bowl victories in the history of the sport is not a first ballot Hall of Famer, there's literally no one else that should be.
Yeah, it's kind of like what my argument's been all day long. As someone that, Bill Belichick, the UNC football coach, not off to the best start, but had 3 separate Hall of Fame careers at the NFL level. Yeah. His time as a defensive coordinator with the Giants, you could argue Hall of Fame worthy. The first run of the Patriots dynasty in the mid-2000s, Hall of Fame worthy. What he did in the 2010s was Hall of Fame worthy. And then, if you know anything about Bill Belichick, no one, I think, reveres the history of the game. No one
Yes.
reveres Canton more than Belichick. Like, this was going to be his biggest accomplishment in his football life, not the Super Bowls, not the championships. It was going to be going into Canton and getting that bust and getting that gold jacket. He's still going to get it, but he's going to have to wait even longer than he should have, because the guy deserved to be elected. If they did while you were active, he would have been an active member while coaching. So it's just another example that the sports world, for as great as it is, it's not perfect. And these Hall of Fames that carry so much weight, the voting procedures, we need to be overhauled in the year of our Lord 2026, because if Bill Belichick isn't a first ballot Hall of Famer, quite simply no one else in the history of football should be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
It makes no sense to me. I love the public outcry. We'll see what happens. All right, Marlow, buy or sell. You ready?
Let's do it, baby.
Let's go. Here's the first one for you. The North Carolina Tar Heels will be a top 4 seed in the ACC tournament. Buy or sell?
Yeah, I'm buying that. I know they're tied for 6th right now.
Correct.
They played 7 games. They've had 2 off weeks in ACC play, which is kind of why they've only played 7 games here so far. You've got 11 to go. If the Virginia win, Shade, is what the Virginia win should be, this team's about to get hot. This team's about to go on a run and really string together wins. Georgia Tech, Syracuse. Hopefully you win a win over Duke, but you start winning some games that maybe if you would have lost to Virginia, would have been toss-uppy. And maybe there wouldn't have been the trust that you could win the type of games that you would have to win to get yourself in top 4 position. But for as bad as the vibes were this time 2 weeks ago, they're a different place here today. And I do think when the dust does settle and Carolina concludes ACC play the first weekend in March, I do think they'll be a top 4 team getting the all-important double bye at the ACC tournament.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm buying this as well. Obviously, it would be something of a no-brainer if Carolina had swept the California trip. Heck, maybe even split it. And I think that's why it's even in doubt. What's interesting, Marlow, is I hadn't really processed this till I started thinking about this buy or sell. Other than the Virginia win, UNC's 3 other conference wins right now are against straight up bottom feeders in the ACC teams, all at the bottom of the heap. And so, look, we're going to find a lot out here as they still have to play Clemson, as they still have to play State and Miami and Virginia Tech and Louisville. And so there's a lot to be figured out. But, man, it feels like, as I love how you put that, man, if the Virginia game means anything, if that is a turning point in this season, then the Tar Heels really might be finding themselves. And so I think that's the patience that we are trying to find for these Heels. So, Marlow, I'm right with you on buying that. And if you've got something else to say on that one, do it. If not, I'll throw a bonus kind of postseason one at you.
Nope, I'm good. So you can hit me with your bonus one, brother.
All right. The North Carolina Tar Heels will be a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament. Buy or sell?
This is why I wanted the raw reaction, because I was going through some tournament stuff today and looking at projections, and the highest you see Carolina as a 4, the lowest right now you see as a 6, which is a drastic change from this time pre-Virginia when Carolina was on that 7-8 line.
Yeah.
Which is nowhere where you thought you would be back pre-Christmas last time I talked to you, when the team was sitting here at 12-1. 8 of their final 11 games are quad 1, quad 2 opportunities, I think is what the math is sitting at right now. I say that to say there's a chance to really build a strong resume for the selection committee to consider for seeding. I think Carolina gets there. Now, they might be the 16th seed,
Yeah, right.
but I do think, because there's a little secret, Shade, I think they're going to split with Duke. I think they're going to beat NC State. I think they're going to beat the Miamis of the world. I think they're going to beat Clemson. I think they're going to stack some wins here over the next 6-7 weeks. And by the time that we 6-7, so by the time that we do get to Selection Sunday, I do think Carolina will be among the top 4 seed lines, no matter which region of the bracket they find themselves in.
That's good. And I appreciate you sharing kind of, you had been looking at the tournament projections right now, knowing that we might get to this bonus one. I did the same. And it's interesting, Marlow, right now, as we record at Bracket Matrix, do you use Bracket Matrix? Are you familiar with that site?
I do not, but you can introduce me to it.
So Bracket Matrix is a site that takes like basically every bracketology out there and takes like all the numbers and strings it together. Right now it's utilizing how many different, like 100 different brackets right now. By the time we get to March, it's usually like 127 or something like that. And it basically just takes the average of all of those and slots you in. And, so trying to use everything kind of at an amalgamation site, I guess you'd call it, or whatever. Carolina right now at bracketmatrix.com is the last 5 seed. And so, as you said, should they start stacking wins at the rate that they can and maybe be able to do so, absolutely they can jump 4 spots on the S curve to get to the last 4 seed. But I think there's also the possibility that they could not do that. I don't think they're in danger of falling to like the 8-9 game or below, because they're just not going to lose that much. But I do I'm with you. I think a 4 seed is possible. Right now, I'm still in a little bit of wait and see mode. So I'm going to be, it's funny, me being a little more glass empty than you. I'm going to sell on this one, because I think right now I would see the Tar Heels as a 5 or a 6. I'm very hopeful for a 4, and I would love it.
I think an important thing, and you can really attest this because you cover the sport on a national level. I think a lot of Carolina fans, if they see us 5, 6, maybe even a 7 line, they might be disappointed after the 12-1 start.
Right.
I think if you don't follow the sport maybe the way that you do, the way that I do, there's a lot of good basketball teams.
Grief, dude.
I know Jay Billis says it every year when we get to the tournament. There's 20 to 25 teams that can make a Final Four. I feel like this year that number is maybe closer to 30 that are just legitimate, second weekend of the tournament type of teams. And so that's why the West Coast road trip really hurt, was because, no, it didn't define their whole season, but it could have cost them a seed line come Selection Sunday. Yeah. And so I think they can get there, because I think they're going to get the right type of wins, and I think that Kansas win is going to age well.
Yes.
The Kentucky win hopefully continues to age well, albeit what happened last night in Vanderbilt. Should not go against Vanderbilt. And that Virginia win is going to age well. But regardless, even if they're on that 5 line where Bracket Matrix has them, I think you also got to realize this is as deep a pool of contenders as we've seen in the sport in about a decade or so. And so Carolina is still going to be a really high quality basketball team come Selection Sunday, even if they're on that 5 line.
Dude, and I think that's such a good way to phrase it, because I think people just look at the vacuum through the Tar Heel lens, forgetting that we also have to factor in what others are doing. And as you said, man, the pool is so deep. Like, this Arizona Wildcats team is something different right now, man. It's crazy to watch them play. And so, yeah, lots of really, really good basketball. Okay, Marlow and I are going to keep the buy and sell rolling. Next up, a question about point guard number 1, the man bursting onto the scene, Derek Dixon. We'll get to that in just a second.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kalia Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. The WNBA has released its 2026 schedule, featuring a 44-game regular season beginning on Friday, May 8th. The league's historic 30th season includes expansion teams Portland Fire and the Toronto Tempo, with opening weekend highlights such as Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever hosting Paige Beckers and the Dallas Wings, and a rematch of the 2025 finals between the Aces and the Mercury. And unrivaled, Miami felt the breeze as Paige Beckers powered the breeze to a 75-68 win over the Lunar Owls, finishing with 28 points and 7 assists. She was joined by 20-year-old Dominique Malunga, who added 21 points, 8 rebounds, and became just the second player to ever dunk in an unrivaled game. In college hoops, South Carolina handed Vanderbilt its first loss of the season with a dominant 103-74 win. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts the same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment. Putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
Thanks for making Locked On Tar Heels your first listen or watch of the day and making the Locked On Network the #1 sports podcast network out there. It's because of all of you. And if you want to go even next level with the show, check out our brand new Everydayers Club, where you can get all sorts of perks, members only Discord access, all like ad-free versions of the show, all sorts of great stuff. The link is in the show notes, LockedOnTarHeels.supercast.com. All right, Marlow, you ready for the next buy and sell?
Hit me.
Okay. As a starter, Derek Dixon will average 4 assists per game the rest of the way. So for context, as you contemplate your answer, season long, he's averaging 2.3 assists per game. But in his 3 games as a starter is averaging exactly 4 assists per game. Had obviously 7 Saturday at Virginia and had 5 combined in his first 2 starts. So averaging 4 as a starter, 2.3 season long. The buy or sell for as a starter, Derek Dixon will average 4 assists per game.
I think I'm going to buy it, and I think here's why. I think his passing ability, and you saw it in that second half comeback against Virginia, I think it's going to unlock a different form of Carolina's offense, and it's really the offense that we haven't seen since really Tyler Zeller, where I think you're going to see a lot of when Carolina's running, they're running to the rim. And they're going to – I thought Jarin Stevenson, that was an end-game adjustment that Carolina made where they identified a weakness in Virginia's transition defense. Hey, we're going to run to the front of the rim, and he got how many easy points? When I was a kid, that was a given. Carolina got 6 to 8 points a night off of Tyler Zeller running down the other way, Kendall Marshall, pitch ahead pass, layup, dunk, foul, and one, all the above. And I think there's a feel for the game, having watched him in person, having watched him on television, that yes, he's a freshman and they haven't given him the full load of what you put on a Carolina point guard. Yeah. But he can feel the game. I think he's really good in the pick and roll. I think he knows how to attack pick and rolls from a bounce pass perspective. So I'm going to buy it. It might be exactly 4.0. It might be 4.1, but I think we found something in our offense that'll generate easy points. Easy points are usually assisted upon. So I do think when it's all said and done, when we look at his splits from reserve to starter, he will average at least 4 assists as Carolina's floor general.
And I think part of what helps that too is his scoring ability. He's got double-digit scoring in all 3 games that he started, so he's going to draw some gravity there, which is going to make some of those passes easier. Marlow, I tell you, that the first of those full court passes, that dime he dropped into Caleb Wilson's hands running the fly route. I mean, my good, like not just how on target it was, like the guts to even throw that pass. It is insanity to me when we've not seen that from him all season long before that. And it was like, wait, what? Because there were people already saying, I see some potential Kendall Marshall here.
Yeah.
But we hadn't seen like that level of pass until that moment. And then you saw 3 of them. There were the 2 to Jarin Stevenson that you referenced and that Caleb Wilson one. And dude, I loved what Jarin did Saturday. His effort and energy in the 17 points in the final 13 minutes of the game. But for me, the most critically important thing that happened was Derek Dixon finding himself as a playmaker. I am so anxious to see how he follows it up Saturday in Atlanta.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the biggest determining factor into what we talked about in buy or sell segment 1 about this team being a top 4 seed in the ACC and maybe a top 4 seed come selection Sunday. It probably leads you to believe that this switch should have been made when everyone was yelling about it after he balled out against Georgetown, but Hubert Davis stuck it out and stayed committed to Kyan Evans because I think he knows, like we all believe, Carolina needs Kyan Evans. He needs the ball. And hopefully we see some 2-guard lineups where Evans is just running off of ball screens and pin downs and whatever it is and just shooting 3 after 3 after 3. But you got to have someone that can get him the ball. And I think Derek Dixon can do that. So I'm really excited to see where he goes and how he builds off of this because he got confident. He got vocal. He was challenging, Caleb Wilson. He was challenging Henri Veesaar. He's that extension of Hubert Davis on the court. And we always feel pretty good about our chances when the head coach and the point guard they're in sync.
In lockstep. I love to see that. Man, going to be so interesting. I love it. And I hope it continues to unlock what Carolina can do. All right, Josh Marlow, Caleb Wilson, an absolute superstar. My question for you is going to include asking, how well is he going to be able to keep up these numbers down the stretch of the season? We'll have another buy or sell coming up here in just a second. Right after I tell you about Rocket Money, look, let's be real. Managing your finances, it can really feel overwhelming between subscriptions you forgot about, bills that keep piling up, and trying to figure out where all your money actually goes each month. It's easy to feel like you're losing control. And let's be honest, who has time to track every transaction or hunt down hidden fees anyway? The good news is that that's where Rocket Money comes in, the personal finance app that helps you take control back. It finds, it cancels your unwanted subscriptions, it monitors your spending, and it helps you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. I love how it tracks your subscriptions and lets you cancel them right there in the Rocket Money app with just a few taps. No more hunting down customer service, being on wait, and listening to the cheesy music they got. Nah. And Rocket Money even consolidates your checking, your savings, your loans, and investments into a single dashboard so that you get a clear view of your entire financial picture. So let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Again, rocketmoney.com/lockedon. One more time, rocketmoney.com/lockedon. It's a buy or sell edition of the show with a freshly bald Josh Marlow. This dude is looking wise and dapper and just like we need to get you in the same way that we need to get Shady like a sunglasses sponsor. We need to get you like a Bic sponsorship or something like that. I don't know what. Gosh. All right, Marlow, here we go. Here's the next buy or sell. Caleb Wilson will end the season averaging 20 points and 10 rebounds or better. Right now, as we sit here and chat, he's at 19.9 and 10.1.
I'm going to buy it. Don't know if you saw the comments that have been made public after the Notre Dame game where he thanked Micah Shrewsbury for cutting him at a under 18 or whatever it was national team. And he said, look, there's a lot more names on the list I got to cross off. That's tells me I've got a motivated freshman that's not going to rest on his laurels. And he knows, we got a big game coming up next Saturday. And those are going to be, legacy defining games for a guy that's only going to be here for one season. So I'm going to buy it. I also think an adjustment Carolina has made that is going to benefit him is they're starting to run a lot of their half court offense through him where he's controlling a lot of things because he can pass the ball really well at a double team. So it's going to be difficult because it's not easy to average 20 and 10 at the college level as a freshman, junior, senior, sophomore, whatever it is. But we're not talking about just any ordinary freshman. We're talking about, from a statistical standpoint, the best freshman this program quite simply has ever seen and will produce when his career does come to an end. So I know he has to get that point per game average up by 0.1 to get to that 20-point threshold, but I do think it'll be accomplished. And I do think he'll average 20 and 10, something that we haven't seen someone threaten since Tyler Hansbrough, I think, in his junior season.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm buying it as well. The funny thing, though, Marlow, is I think it's the rebounds that I'm more concerned about than the points. Right now, Caleb has scored 20 or more points in 14 of his 20 games as a Tar Heel. One more, by the way, will set a freshman record, breaking the tie he holds with T. Hands himself. But interestingly, Marlow, the first game of ACC play, he had 16 rebounds, a career high against Florida State. Since then, in the last 6 ACC games, double-digit rebounds just once. And so I'm curious to see if that's a little bit of a freshman wall, if it's just like a statistical anomaly in the small sample size of this freshman year. But I'm very curious to see what's going to happen there. But I'm so glad you brought up the Micah Shrewsbury comments, because before I had landed on us doing a buy or sell show today, I was going to have us lead the show talking about that, because to me, that whole thing feels like MJ levels of pettiness, MJ levels of finding a chip and an edge to motivate yourself. And what I love about it is it's like Coach Shrewsbury gave some more context to it and was saying, like, it's not that Caleb was mad at me. He was legitimately thanking me for, like, hey, I know you don't mean this bad. You had to choose a team. You got to do what you got to do. But I appreciate it because it gave me even more motivation. Like that makes it even a cooler story to me.
Yeah, the MJ stuff, he's not MJ. There's only one MJ.
No, hear me not saying that at all.
You can tell that he motivates himself in a similar fashion. And you can tell by the way he shoots those turnaround jump shots from the baseline. He watches some MJ tape. It's kind of like, if you watch the Last Dance documentary and you see Roy Williams, they bring him in. And I remember having a conversation with Michael and saying, I want to be the best to ever play here. Well, son, you're going to have to work really, really hard. And Michael thought he was already working hard. And he goes, whoa, but you said you want to be the best to ever play here. And then from that moment on, he turned on a light switch. I think for Caleb Wilson, man, I was really, really good. I am really, really good. And I'm going to continue to prove that to you while I kick your butt. And when Carolina has that edge, I call him a war daddy. I mean, that's a guy. Give me the war paint. You give me the weapons. You give me the arrows, the shield, or whatever. I'm gonna go to battle with that guy because even when he's had his off nights, whatever that looks like, I've never once questioned the effort, the energy, the toughness. So the rebounding might be the thing that's difficult, but because you've got Henri Veesaar, you've got other guys as well. But the guy's motivated, and he's probably mad at himself when he had 7 rebounds against Virginia or whatever it was. So I don't think he wants to add to his stat total to be a stat patter. I think he wants to do whatever he feels like he has to do to win basketball games. And if he's averaging 20 and 10, Shady, we're going to be winning a lot more than we're losing. And I know that makes both of us very happy.
That does, and that's very well said indeed. Again, I'm with you. I'm buying it. 20 and 10, I think, is what he's going to do. Marlow, I've got, let's do one more buy or sell. I've got 2 bonuses, and I'll let you pick. They're both player related. One is Jarin Stevenson. The other is Jaydon Young. Which one do you want to do?
Let me go with Jaydon Young, the guy that I was high on back when we did his player breakdown back in the summer. But his season's kind of gone the reverse of what I said. I thought he'd have a big role in November and December. It would shrink into January, into February. It's been the opposite. Small role in November and December, a big role into January. But I'm happy for him. So what you got?
Yes, agreed. He's working his absolute tail off. Here's the buy or sell. Jaydon Young will continue to be North Carolina's starting 2 guard.
I'm going to buy it because when Hubert Davis tells you that he's not married to a starting lineup, Jaydon Young is the prime example as to why he's not, because Jaydon Young starts and then doesn't play very much. He played 7 minutes in the game at Virginia, but I think he's a tone setter because he, as a kid that grew up wanting to play there, I think he gets that part that Hubert Davis stresses to put that uniform on, walk out that tunnel, and no matter how long you're on the court, maximize your energy and your effort and your enthusiasm. And I think he impacts winning no matter if he plays 27 minutes or 7 minutes. He puts another shooter on the floor, another ball handler on the floor. More importantly, another willing and able perimeter defender. Is he going to be a part of Carolina's closing 5? No. I do think he continues to start, though, as we make our way through ACC play.
Man, that's interesting. I was personally going to sell that one. But it's like,
but at some point, we got to settle on a 5. Like Hubert can't keep herking and jerking. Like, this is our 5, and we got to figure out what the rotations are going to look like when we get to this point in the game. This is who's going to be on the court, so on and so forth. I think he's a first half player.
Yep,
and I think he knows that, and I think he'll continue to get his minutes or the starts because he's bought into his role. And isn't pouting that he's not playing starter-like minutes despite being a starter.
Yep, 100%. And that's like, that is the ideal teammate. That's the ideal player you want as a coach. And I've even started to wonder, and Coach Rob and I talked about this a little bit on Thursday's Locked on Tar Heels show, is you wonder if some of these rotations that we're questioning of, like, why has Zayden High been the first big off the bench the past couple games, like that kind of thing. You wonder if some of that is to just conserve some of the energy for the stretch run for your Jarins and for your Seths and whoever. I don't know what it is behind the scenes, but it is intriguing. I appreciate that the staff is trying to continue to work and search and figure it out of who to go with. But I'm curious to see, because now we've had 4 different starting lineups in the last 5 games.
Yeah.
And man, I guess it would be 4 in the last 6 now that we've had the same for the last 2. But yeah, I'm really curious when we get to 15 minutes before tip-off on Saturday or whatever it is, and we find out the starting lineup, if it'll be that same 5 that we've seen the last 2 games.
Yeah. I want him to find a group and stay married to it. So I like what Jaydon Young offers, what he presents, while also understanding that when it's winning time, is that a guy that needs to be on the floor? That answer is probably no. But if you're going to get the contributions from Luka Bogavac that you got in the Virginia game, if Jarin Stevenson, because I think that's the thing, is I think Hubert likes playing that big lineup.
Yep.
But that big lineup's got to hold its own.
Yep.
You know, and you saw on the West Coast trip, that big lineup got pulled out and they got driven, and Carolina's defense collapsed, and they gave up wide open 3 after wide open 3, layup, dunk, whatever it was, and we were getting scored on like nobody's business. So it might not make the most sense, but to me, I don't think that was a change you made for the short term.
No,
I think that was a change that you make for the long term, while also figuring out some other stuff along the way. I'd love to see him play more than 7 minutes. You know, but you also, like, I want Jonathan Powell to play 18 minutes.
Yes.
We need Kyan Evans on the court because we need his shooting. So he's got to play 10, 12, 15 minutes. That's the thing about depth, man. Like we about said a bad word. We complained when we don't have it, but then when you have it, you've got to find a way to maximize it.
That's right.
And that's what Hubert Davis's and this coaching staff's job is over the next couple of weeks. Is you've got 7 to 8 guys that I think you can count on every single night.
Yeah.
But how are you going to maximize it? How are you going to get the most out of all those that are helping the collective goal? And the collective goal is to win basketball games. So we'll have to see how it all plays out. But I don't think you can keep messing with the starting lineup the way you have, as you mentioned, 4 different lineups in the last 5 games.
Well, thankfully, at least when it comes to scoring, that depth has showed up in a big way. Each of the wins last week, Carolina getting more than 30 points in each of those wins. The Notre Dame and Virginia wins last week. That's great stuff. Marlow, to your point about settling on a lineup, I was trying to remember. I was like, man, it felt like it was late in the season last year when Carolina finally landed on the lineup that was the best combination. If you had to guess, Marlow, so it's that starting 5 of Cadeau, RJ Davis, Drake Powell, Van Allen Lubin, and Jalen Withers. What game number in the season last year was it when they finally settled on that 5? If you had to guess.
Was it the Clemson loss?
It was after that.
I'm trying to remember the way the season went.
I know there was some back and forth. So
because Clemson, they got their butts kicked by Clemson.
Yep. Then they went up to Syracuse and won.
Yep, that's where I knew. Is that where it started? Because I feel like
that was the last. That was where they started that winning streak of the final 6 games leading up to Duke, where they lost.
Yeah,
that was the last game with Seth in the starting lineup. It was the next game hosting NC State where they settled into that new starting 5. And Josh, that was game 27. So Saturday is game 21, and we're still 6 games shy of last year, where they took to finally settle on that starting 5 that I thought was the best quintet to rock with for that. And so, I think I say that to say Coach Davis has proven that he's going to do what he needs to, as long as it takes, to find out how to keep pressing those buttons until he's got the group he needs.
Yeah, and I mean, look, part of this too, man, the Trimble injury really impacted all of this, because you were without him for 42 days. He missed, what was it, I think 8 games in totality. They would have been able to tinker some things during then. And then you got to kind of remember, whether it's a coincidence or not, Trimble's return is when Carolina had that lull in play, which kind of brought on even what led to some of these changes. So I hope he sticks to that group. But it would not surprise me if Carolina goes out on Saturday, they lay an egg. He makes another change on Monday against Syracuse, or maybe they get exposed somewhere again. He makes a different lineup change. I know a lot of people are like, well, we got to put Stevenson back in the lineup. You got to put Luka back in the lineup. I like having what those guys offer coming off the bench. How many teams in the country have a 6'10" wing that can guard the 3 through 5? Not many. How many guys have a 6'5" wing that can be a ball handler, that can shoot the ball, that can do the things that he can do in the pick and roll coming off the bench? Again, not many. They feel deeper. They feel more versatile. They feel more athletic with this starting 5 that's playing, while knowing it's not going to be the 5 that's on the floor when you get to the 4-minute mark and we're all tweeting, go where you go, do what you do. Let's go win a ball game.
That's right. Especially because in winning time, guess what, everybody? Jarin Stevenson is the best free throw shooter by percentage on this team, which is wild to say, but there we go. Great stuff, Marlow. A lot of fun with our buy and sell today. I love your answers. I love that you wanted it raw and in real time. And man, I thought it came together really, really well. All right, you guys, we're going to be getting ready for this Georgia Tech game coming up on Saturday afternoon. Carolina down in Atlanta, where they've lost 3 out of their last 5, including the last time they were down there when RJ Davis didn't get a foul call that he should have, with free throws that would have helped Carolina maybe get out of there with the dub. We'll get ready for that on tomorrow's show, as well as the weekend preview and weekend whip around. It'll be great stuff. As always, if you do not already follow Josh's great content, he and Pagnotta over at the Heel Tough blog, Marlow's great stuff there on the Four Corners podcast, go check into all of that right now. You will be a better and more knowledgeable Carolina fan because of it. I promise you that. If you've not subscribed to our show on whatever way you get podcasts, do it right now. Subscribe on YouTube so you can be with us live after the game on Saturday, as well as all our regular daily content as well. If you've not joined the Everydayers Club, that link's in the show notes, as is the link for the Locked On Tar Heels Discord. We'd love to see you there. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll talk again tomorrow, but until then, peace.